Hello YouTube, my name is Scott Grammer and I am the old audio guy, and I want to talk to you about two more ways to blow up your vintage stereo. Now, a few days ago I posted a short called 2 Ways to Blow Up Your Vintage Stereo. You can find that here. And then I think it was yesterday I actually expounded on that a little bit. And you can find that video, guess where? Same place. Isn't that amazing? So now what I want to do is continue with that series with 2 more ways to blow up your vintage stereo. And we're going to stay talking about speakers and amplifiers and that sort of thing. And I want to talk to you about too much power and too little power. Now, the idea of having too much power, that's something everybody can kind of relate to. If you have a 100 watt per channel amp and a pair of speakers that are rated for 10 watts, you're asking for trouble. The first time you crank it for any length of time, you're probably going to send those speakers to their final reward. The power rating on a loudspeaker is based on 2 things, mainly the ability of the voice coil to get rid of heat, because loudspeakers turn, on average, 99% of the power that you send them into heat and only about 1% into sound. And the other thing it's based on is how far the drivers can move back and forth without being physically damaged. And of course, the louder you play it, the further they have to be able to move back and forth, the longer their excursion has to be. So if you have a 100 watt amp on a 10 watt pair of speakers, you got to keep the volume down. Everybody knows that. That's kind of basic stuff. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is that it's possible to damage your speakers with too little power. That's right, you heard it here first. It is possible to damage a 100 watt pair of speakers with a 10 watt amplifier. And here's how it works. Let's take that 100 watt pair of speakers. Let's say they're 3-way speakers. The woofer itself can probably handle 100 watts alone. And then the mid-range is probably only rated for around 15 or 20 watts, while the tweeter might only be rated for 2 or 3 watts. Why is this? It's because the spectrum of most music favors the bass. There is a whole lot more energy in the bottom end than there is in the mid-range, and a lot more mid-range than there is in the treble. So the tweeter doesn't need to handle a whole lot of power, which is a good thing, because tweeters that can handle a whole lot of power and still work well as a tweeter can be very expensive. So it's possible for a 10 watt amp to blow the tweeter in a 100 watt system if you push that amp hard into distortion. When you press an amplifier past its limits, it clips, it produces distortion, and I mean a lot of it, and that distortion is all high frequency energy. And that high frequency energy goes where? To the tweeter, to the 2 or 3 watt tweeter. So if you have a 10 watt amp and you're pushing it hard into distortion, and 5 of the 10 watts that it's making are all high frequency noise distortion, and those 5 watts are going to your 2 watt tweeter, guess what? Your tweeter is not long for this world. I have seen, I don't know how many times people will bring in a speaker system where the woofer is fine, the mid-range is fine, but the tweeter is toasted. And they don't understand why that keeps happening. And I say, you need to go buy a bigger amp, or you need to turn the volume down, one of the two. So there you go, in a nutshell, 2 more ways to blow up your vintage stereo: too much power and too little power. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.